Whoops. I didn't intend for that to happen.
What's up everybody, FSC Trucking. Well, as you can see, I started trying to get my Peterbilt template apart. So right now, basically the only thing holding this template on, this piece of frame rail, because the driver's side is the side with the steering box, so that's the side that's going to go out to get manufactured. So we're working with the driver's side. The idea is to weld this frame to the back of the Ford frame to get it mocked up for the proper length. And then I'm gonna get a whole new frame rail made with all the bolt holes already pre-drilled, ready to go with the Ford front end and the Peterbilt rear end. Of course, these brackets, axles, drums, all of that, this whole setup. This used to be a tandem axle, the other axle was cut off in the back already. I'm gonna be reusing that, of course, to make the Ford CL9000 a tandem drive axle, but we're gonna use a little thicker of a frame is the idea. So that's the idea right today, is just basically get a template done, put together and ready to rock and roll that we can go out and get made. So that's the idea. We're gonna keep working, try to get this one side off. Get that one fuel tank hanger off. There's one bolt left on that. There is a fish plate put in here. It's only 2 feet wide. This is the original Peterbilt 352 frame. This is a cut off from a tandem axle Peterbilt that, believe it or not, I think was installed upside down or just made out of scrap rail. It's pretty nasty stuff. But nonetheless, this is what we're doing. That's gonna be a template. That's all it's gonna be. Brand new frame's gonna be made. This is all junk. This frame's cracked and waved and it's just junk. So with that, we're gonna keep working, try to get this frame rail apart. I thought I'd have to use a chisel on that. That spooked me a little bit.
New hose, new tip cleaners. All right, we're good to go. Alrighty, everybody, it is the next day. Yesterday was one of those, I call them Rodney Dangerfield days. Just seems like everything goes wrong. Because if it could have happened yesterday, it felt like it did. Although, Although, to be honest, I think it could have been a lot worse just because it's, let's be frank, how days go. And it's not like I don't know people that had really bad stuff happen to them. Although, to be honest, they made a mountain of horse crap into gold. So let's see how it plays out here for me. But my worst fear did not happen, so I guess it ain't that bad. But I'll tell you something about yesterday. Two things. One, I think my camera lens was awful dirty, so I don't know how much any of the previous footage was worth a damn or not. Probably all of it was ruined. But I'm going to explain something here real quick, which one of the things that I fear happening at the shop, it happened. You know, it's bad when your shop breaks down. So yesterday I got this piece of frame rail out of this whole assembly here. Of course, the rest of the frame is going to get cut up for junk. And yesterday I cut that piece of section off. It landed on the ground and it landed on my fuel hose for the torch and burst the oxygen side. So that's why I have a new one of these. And my tip cleaners are getting a little bit bent, so I bought new tip cleaners. That was yesterday. Today, so this is what I got done thus far. And there you go. So we're going to keep working. But while I'm cutting over here, and then I grab my pneumatic chisel and I push a bolt through. And these bolts, they just tend to hit the ground like there's one there, one there, one there. And one felt like it sounded like it went and hit the battery charger over there. Okay, then a second one hit the ground, and it sounded like it hit the battery charger, but the sound came from over there, not there. And I looked up, because I did see the flash in my welding helmet, which I was using for grind, in grind mode. And I looked up and I saw smoke from over here. I'm like, oh crap. And that's always one of my fears with the shop and worrying about fire, is if I ever left the compressor on. One of the things I was worried about, and when I had Dave, Maggie, and Terry here, I always was like, anybody that leaves the shop, always double check that you shut off the air compressor in case it decides to come on when nobody's here, and should there be a problem. So that's really simple. So all I've ever done was close the ball valve so it wouldn't bleed out, and now it's, you hear it, because this was overloaded. The motor finally shorted out and it went off with a bang. The motor still moves, so it's, it's not frozen or nothing, but it shorted out and it cooked the switch, and that also tripped the breaker. So I unplugged it. When I got over here, she was still smoldering, so I unplugged it. It's a 220 setup, so that motor and switch is junk. And that's always been one of my fears. So I started using my chisel on the pancake compressor I have, the little portable thing I keep for the big trailer. And, well, that's good for pneumatic tools, but later on I've got to work the big compressor. So I have to get either a whole new compressor or I got to replace the motor and the switch. So I'm not sure really what's available, but I really got to get stuff done in here before I actually get back in Orwell and get going. So I don't have time for that. So I got to figure out how I'm going to bypass that. Maybe I'll use Orwell temporarily to feed the 80-gallon tank to do what I got to do later. I'm not really sure, but that's how that played out. So compressor blew up. I lost my fuel hose for my torches, and there we go. But work continues. Like I said, just one of those days where it feels like everything you touch comes apart. Yeah, so. Well, with that, we're gonna keep pressing on. That's what the hell else am I gonna do?
come out once the cross member cleared the frame rail. I mean, there are no other fasteners holding that in. Oh. I mean, them rivets are out.
fight me the whole way out. I thought this process might be a little fun. Man, it's gonna fight me the whole way out. See this right here? That's what creates rust jacking. The metal, look how curved that is. The metal oxidizes and spreads out with a force that'll bend metal. Look at that. It's a little warm. This is why this style of cross member I'm not reusing, because there's so much space where metal on metal goes together. Also, once I pick this up, you'll see the sleeve. Look at the amount of potential rust jacking that could be between this fish plate or sleeve and the frame underneath it. By the way, this was welded in place. This was a truck frame. They cut it and re-welded the flange back on it, as opposed to had one made the same size. That's why we're not going that route. Also, look here. The bottom of this big cross member, it leaves a big area. It leaves a big area for water and dirt and crap to stay there, which creates a rust through situation. See? That's why these cross members ain't the best. The newer type that they have now, that's a much better system. So that's what we're gonna go with. But this frame, obviously, I've seen a lot of comments in a short that I did. This is a template. This is not the frame we're running. We're using this to make a template, to make a brand new frame with all new cross members, everything brand new. This way the truck will last, 20, 30 years with proper maintenance and washing. There you go. Now I'd like to try to get the sleeve out of here if possible. Oh, it's going. Wow, not quite yet. Yeah, all right. I thought that was half welded in. This wasn't that bad. This here wasn't that bad, so, whatever. It's junk though. Wow, that weighs a lot. Well, alrighty, boys and girls, I got the frame off the horses, and now I just gotta start reducing this pile of mess right here. We're gonna start that here in a second. So what I've done in preparation of the fact that we're going to be welding this rail to this rail here somewhere. Now, I don't know how big I'm gonna make the fuel tanks, and I don't know how big I'm gonna put a step box, and I have to have room for a headache rack, which remember the cab of the Ford starts right here. These are the back cab mounts, and then the stack obviously is all by itself back. So somewhere I got to make room for a headache rack. Now what I'm going to do for stacks, I don't know if I'm going to keep it a single, make it a double, who knows. But I need to know how big my tanks are going to be, how big the step box is going to be, room for the APU, and then where the first piece of Peterbilt is going to go. I'm thinking, believe it or not, the tank is probably going to come to about here. Step box is going to be about here. And I think this is where the forward axle is going to start-ish. That gives you a rough idea how long we're going to be. So that is going to weld about here to the stub end of this rail, and then go further back to be a tandem. So she's going to be a big girl. But for right now, I've just laid the rail under there to make room. Because, well, to be honest, we're slowly running out of room, and I got a big unit got to come in here, and that'll probably be the next video. But I got another big unit's got to come in here, and like we discussed, some of the problems we got here, it's going to create issues. But for now, let's keep working on this. Right now, the goal is to get the axles completely separate. That way they're easy to move around by themselves. They'll stack back there for the while up front of the bikes over by the front of the 352. That's the idea, because once we get the framework done, then we can start working on the tubes, rebuilding the diffs, and so on. And to be honest, money's tight now. Money's getting real tight. Freight's slow, everything's slowing down, everything's getting more expensive. So I got to start watching, you know. So we might be slowing down, but I'm not going to cry about it. I'm just going to keep working. That's what I do. Hell, I survived the Great Recession of 08 with big truck payments. So, you know, I survived that. I'll survive this. Don't worry. But we do have to watch. So I'm going to try my best to keep this build going. Well, we're going to keep working. That's what we do. Keep working. Because I don't know what else to do. Alrighty, so I got the suspension components off of here. I cut the U-bolt, slammed it through. So this side is pretty much cleaned up, but I got the other side still too. So the game plan's pretty simple. Put this under here like so. Give me some room I can get under here with the torch, up in here with the torch, and we'll be good to fly. So now I just gotta lift up on the cherry picker and lift up the remainder of the frame. It also is making a space, you know, raising the frame off the axle as well. That should be pretty good right there. That sets it up real good. So now I can get that airbag out, get that shock off, and then start working on the rest. So I can start chopping this frame up, because once the suspension is off, this frame, other than the fuel tank strap, this is just going straight to the junk. So I don't need to worry about like cutting all the rivets and bolt holes out. Just chop her in half, be done. So we'll start here. Actually, we're gonna start on the bag, shocks, and take this apart, and then chop, chop, chop. Now these airbags are held in by 1, 2, and 3 bolts, and that's it. The damn puddle landed on the head of the next one. These nuts are notorious for breaking. At least on Orwell they are on the lower mounts. So I heat the nut, it'll loosen up and spin off. We're not cutting, we're just heating. So we got to get her pretty cherry red. Alright, she's good and hot now. Now it's nice and loose and you want to grab it and spin it. Yeah, you don't dare touch it. Set my boot on fire. Whoops. I didn't intend for that to happen. Well, that's how crap happens. I thought I had it supported good enough on that jack stand, that horse right there. Yikes. Oh well, it's off now. I don't hear no hissing, so I guess the torch hose is fine. The torch is okay. All right, well, I guess now I'll see who called. Oh boy. All right, so I guess now I gotta like figure this mangled up mess out. So move this out the way. Now it's embarrassing, but I'll admit I'm glad I caught it on camera though. It's just so much garbage. old air valves and such. This is why redoing old trucks, there's a point to where it's just best to just completely rebuild everything. I mean, this hose held air, but I mean, look at it. I mean, it's junk. Garbage. Cut them off on site right where it is. Get this shock off the bottom of the elephant gear also. Alright, now we're going to take the shock tower off. Don't laugh, I love that stuff. Don't worry, boys and girls, these tanks are corroded where the straps were. I did put them up for sale. Nobody wanted them. So, they're taking too much space. They're out of here.
Ugh.